Uh, and remember that this call is recorded and it's also being transcribed. So the call will be recorded and will be posted on the OLS YouTube page. That is, the link is found on line 35 of our Framapad. And also, if you want to turn on the captions on the meeting, you can you can enable them by clicking on the CC button on your YouTube if the video is off. And for today, this is the week one. That is the week one of the Nebula-3 cohort call. And we are going to learn in this session, we are going to learn about the ethos of the open science. That is, we are going to learn about what is open science, and also why is the open science important. Another quick reminder is that you sign up on the Framapad and you respond to the icebreaker question. That is, the question is on the line 15 of our Framapad. So a quick one, you can be, meanwhile, as you join in, you sign up and you respond to the icebreaker question. Okay. So Virginia will share more about the topic for today in a bit. But before we jump into that, you remember to add your name on the roll call and also respond to our icebreaker question, as I've mentioned. Please, for that, use line 15 of our Framapad. The link has been shared on the chat by Sarah. You can just click on it and you add your name and you respond to the question. So I think I can give you some few minutes for that. You come in, you register. And see we are doing okay. We're progressing. I think we have a good number. So I'd like to remind you again that this call is being recorded and you can turn off your camera if you would prefer, or if you prefer not to, for us not to see your face, it's still okay. We are okay with that. And we usually have two reminders. That is, the first one is that we have a code of conduct, the OLS code of conduct and community participation guidelines, and it is found on line 39. The link is found on line 39. If you want to have a look in depth about it, you can go and have a look at it. So in this, we encourage everyone to participate and be committed to building a community for all that is to be considerate and respectful. So remember that we are a community, we are coming from all over the world. So you might not be communicating with someone who you share the same language. So if you experience or you witness unacceptable behavior or you have any other concerns, please report by contacting our organizers, that is Sarah Graciel, by using the email that is the team at weareols.org. So to report an issue involving one of the organizers, please email one of our members individually, either Sarah or Graciel. That is, the email is Sarah at weareols.org and also Graciel at weareols.org. So another reminder is about indicating your preference. When you join the call, you can indicate your preference if you prefer a written or a spoken breakout discussion, so that you can edit your name by clicking the three dots on the top part of your Zoom box on the screen, where you either see your video or your name is being displayed if the camera is off. So you can do that by clicking the three dots on the top right of your the Zoom call on where it's displaying your name, and you edit it. If you prefer written room, then you change it to W, and if you prefer a spoken one, you change it to S, so that it will allow us to assign you to the right breakout room during the group discussions. And if you might prefer a written breakout room for any reason, maybe you are in low bandwidth zone or you are more comfortable with writing, then or you are in a loud background where there's a lot of noise, or you are not just feeling like you want to speak for today, that is okay. You can change it to written, that is W, and we will go by that. So if you are okay with both of them, please choose one for this week, either speaking or written. So, and if you want any further help, you can click on the ask for help button and we'll be able to help you. And if all that does not work, you can still paste on the chat and we will help you to put it on the pad or on your, when you are assigning the rooms, we'll be able to know where to assign you to. So having been said all that, I would like now to hand over to Sarah to introduce the Nebula Open Science Program and also introduce the speaker of the day afterwards. So welcome, Sarah.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Gladys. Gladys will be facilitating today's call, so any problems, just feel free to tag her, Gracieli, or me as well. I'm Sarah. I am one of the organizers of this training program. I am the OLS Community and Training Lead, and I'm very excited to have you all here. So as you can see, this program is a bit different. We are going to focus on open science on a different perspective and with a lot of hands-on and reflection exercises, and we really hope that you can enjoy them. I'm just going to go over a few slides just to give you all an overview of the program, so you can know what you are in for, what you can expect of the calls, and then I'll just hand over to our expert for today, Virginia. So I'm just going to share my slides quickly. There you go. I hope you can see my slides. Can I get some thumbs up? Yes. We also love emojis, so please feel free, to share your emojis, good, bad, so we can also see, what's the vibe in the room. If it's going very slow or very boring, just let us know. We're happy to adapt. But yeah, I'll start with the introductions. As I said, thank you so much. Thank you to our program, to our OLS NASA Nebula program. So this is the third cohort that we run of this program, and we are very excited. For those of you who are new to OLS, who is the organization behind this program, OLS is a non-for-profit organization dedicated to capacity building and diversifying leadership in research. We are a group of dreamers and doers. We imagine a future where research is accessible, inclusive, and equitable, and we fight quite hard for it. Our motivation is that we really believe that science advances when researchers share their work with others. But of course, we know that sometimes there are concerns about sharing openly, changing research landscape. Sometimes there's just too much information, sometimes even conflicting, and sometimes it's just very difficult to keep up with everything, and there's a skills gap. So how we are trying to fill in that gap is exploring the concepts and practices in open science with an application and with a hands-on view. One step at a time, so you cannot really embed and process all the information at the same time. So that's why we have this type of training programs where we teach you small skills that you can practice and then you can bring back to your coach. So in OLS, we've been, this is the Nebula program that you are part of now. This is a 6-week long program. We will have cohort-based training twice a week, as you know. We will meet on Tuesdays and Thursdays at this same time for 6 weeks. There will be hands-on practice exercises, and also we will set some group coaching slots on Mondays and Wednesdays. You will receive more information about this after the second call of this week on Thursday, and you will find information about how to sign up to those at the end of the week. This program, as you already know, is for any person interested in applying open principles in their work, sharing them responsibly, inclusively, and in an effective manner. OLS has been launching this kind of training programs already for a while. We've run 11 cohorts already with more than 400 participants all over the world. We try to involve people from the community. So we have here Virginia today, but we count with more than 300 experts. And we involve more people from around the globe, as I said. The OLS leadership team is composed by our 3 directors, Johanna, Patricia, and Malvika. And as I mentioned, Gracieli and I are the delivery team. Please feel free to let us know if you have any doubt, if you require any assistance, or if you have any problem. You can find us very easily on Slack, but also you can find us on our contact email. Who is really in OLS is not just the delivery team or the people organizing. OLS is really the more than, well, now we are actually over 800 members who have been mentees, mentors, facilitators, and that are contributing shared skills and have graduated from our training programs. So welcome again. Thank you so much for being here with us. In the Nebula program, again, just an overview, what you can expect, the training calls, again, Tuesdays and Thursdays, this same time slot. We will have the coaching sessions. And yes, we really hope to go beyond the program so that you can bring your discipline-specific questions to these training calls, to the coaching sessions. We are here to help you and hopefully to make it easier that you apply what you learn in the training calls to your work, your projects, whatever you're working on. As you might remember, the training sessions are run in the first 5 weeks. So we will run a topic each week. So this week we are focusing on Ethos with Virginia, and then we will have values of open science on Thursday. Then we will have sessions on tools, on data, on results, and also some code skill up sessions. And then on the last week, on the 6th week, we will have our graduation calls when you will all present what you've learned from the program, if you've been able to apply some of the learnings in your own projects, or just in general, what's been your experience. What can you expect from each training session? Gladys has already highlighted a bit. So we will aim always from a structured facilitation. We always work with the shared Framapads, where you can find all the links shared by the trainers, by the experts. You can take collective notes, so if anyone misses something, someone else can fill in. Feel free to just jot down whatever might be useful for you. We will also work on breakout rooms, so you can all reflect and discuss in small groups. And as Gladys has already highlighted, we are working under the OLS Code of Conduct. It will help us a lot if you can include, some of you have already done, if you can include a W or an S in front of your name, so that when we design the breakout rooms, we can design them with this purpose in mind. If you have a problem with that, just pop us a message on the chat and we can try to rename it for you. Again, just for the breakout rooms, remember to introduce yourselves, be kind, speak a bit slower, and share one thing at a time. And yeah, we would love to know what brings you here in general. As I said, the coaching sessions, this is an optional part from the program. So we will have our experts delivering coaching sessions in a topic base that you can sign on. And this will start from next week onwards. We will share more information about them next week. Sorry, at the end of this week. And just some resources for you. So you can find our webpage is currently being updated, but you can find the public calendar for the Nebula training calls in there. So these slides are also linked into the Framapad, so you can see them all. But I hope that you are all already in our Slack workspace and that you are in the Nebula cohort channel. Please, if you haven't and you want to be on Slack, drop us a message. This is the quickest way to get our updates, also that you can discuss with others, bring your questions to experts and to your peers in general. And other support that you might need, we run an OLS general co-working session on Fridays at 11 UTC +1. Actually, this is not correct. I need to update this. And also, yeah, if you are welcome to join any of the public channels. We try to get all the announcements important in that channel. And I think that is it from me. Yes. Yes, and with this, I'm just going to stop sharing and hand over to Virginia. Virginia has been with us already several years, I would say, no? I'm going to let yourself introduce, I'm going to let you introduce yourself. But thank you so much, everyone, for being here.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Sarah, Gladys, and Graciel for this opportunity. And so nice always to be part of this community and to see people from all over the world. This is something that I really appreciate from these open communities, which I think you will also appreciate a lot. So let me just quickly share my screen so we can start. And my internet is not the best today, so let me know and I may be able to put my computer down. Sorry, not my computer, my video. So yeah, so today we're actually gonna start discussing a bit of what is open science and why do we think this is important in terms of this program. And just like Sarah said, I have been participating in this for, I think 2 or 3 cohorts now. And I first started as an OLS participant. So you never know, maybe one day you will also be on this side sharing your knowledge on what you've learned, because it is always a learning experience. And it's not that I'm the expert, it's just like trying to communicate and build up and also enrich my knowledge of open science with the new cohort. So that's something also good. But actually, the first thing is for you to do and to start already participating. And I have created this word cloud for you to tell before we start with all of the Nebula cohort, what do you think is open science? And you have this word cloud. I have the link shared in the pad. And I don't know, maybe I can share it in the chat now. Let me just check. I think so. Yes. So we will give you a few minutes to fill 2 or 3 words of what do you consider it's open science. And I like to do this exercise in the beginning and also at the end of the cohort to see if something changed, if maybe some words appear more than others. So just take your time. I will stop sharing for a bit so I can see you and see behind the scenes what is going on. And then after a few minutes, I will what happened. So we are already starting to see. Great. Awesome. Maybe I could do this in real time. So I will share this with you now. Dun, dun. There we go. Interest for everyone. Oh, not just sharing and being accessible. We also have, yes, inclusivity, accessibility, research, trustworthy. A lot of concepts relating to accessibility. We will definitely talk a little bit about that. Free. Once we have finished this call, I will upload the results in the shared slides that I have for you. So you can also check the things that were said at the beginning. Okay. I don't know if anyone needs more time, let me know. But I think we had pretty much a lot of concepts included, and many of them will be included in this initial part. So I'm really happy about it. I will go forward then with continuing with the presentation. So yeah, interested to know what you thought about. Here's where I will put the results once I upload it. But yeah, just a brief idea of what we're gonna do today. So the lesson will be divided in two. We'll first discuss a little bit about what is open science. We will look a bit at the definition, at the motivations, and who is in the open science, who does it. And then on a second part, after an exercise, we will discuss a bit of why is open science important and sharing some examples of how it benefits personal careers, advances in science, and society overall. So, what is open science? And like Sarah said, we are following a bit of this NASA TOPS schedule. So they actually have an official definition, which we will discuss. And it's a pretty large one, but let's just at least give it one read. So basically, they define open science as the principle and practice of making research products and processes available to all, while respecting diverse cultures, maintaining security and privacy, and fostering collaborations, reproducibility, and equity. So I was really happy to see many of these concepts already included in what do you think it's open science. And yeah, this is a long one, so maybe it's a good idea if we just like go bits by bits and trying to think of what of these parts try to get. So the first thing is making research products and processes available to all. Something really, really, really key in this open science world that is not just for researchers or scientists. It's actually involving all of society and all of the stakeholders in between. We will see a little bit more about the different persons that can participate and in what roles and how they interconnect. But yeah, this idea that science should be for everyone and not just for a small group, and especially if this is funded by public funds in which everyone is literally involved in generating that knowledge. Another key aspect that is represented in this definition is this idea that we are a diverse world. We have different cultures, different backgrounds, and actually you can see it in all of the different people from the different countries in this call, which is awesome. And how important it is to foster this dialogue with not only researchers, but locals, indigenous peoples, and to consider all of the different points of view when creating science and what science for who and what are we expecting. So key to consider that it's not just one point of view, but many points of view that we should have while creating science and communicating it openly. And also this idea that even though we strive to be open, we also need to maintain certain security and privacy, especially when we are talking, for example, about personal data. So over the course of the Nebula, we will talk a little bit about this, that even though we want to make as open as possible, some of the things should not be open. And yes, the idea of trying to get what things should be or not shared is also important. And lastly, but not least, this idea of doing collaborations, of working with different people, of making science reproducible so others can repeat what we do. Those kind of things are a more procedural thing, but it's also key to have better and more robust information and results generated by science for the public. And the fact that they highlight equity in this definition is also so important. So this idea that even though maybe some people are doing the science and not everyone is necessarily involved in doing it, but it does affect everyone and no one should be left behind. And we should strive to be as equitable as possible. So basically, this idea of open science is to be inclusive, diverse, equitable, and for it to be accessible. So we have just seen one definition, that is the one shared by NASA in this program, but it's not that there is one correct definition. Open science is a definition that can get as many possibilities as people in the world. So everyone could have a different opinion and view of what open science is. Actually, here you have a small subset of different definitions of what open science means to some agencies and organizations. Some of them emphasize the sharing the knowledge, others the process and products, and also, well, yeah, the scientific research and this idea of being accessible to everyone. So the idea of this is for you to keep the definition that is more comfortable for you and the aspects of open science that you think are the best, but always considering the idea behind it, these concepts that we just remembered. And the word idea is a good thing also to remember. Great. And we will talk a little bit more about these motivations and goals behind doing open science, but it's also important to consider why are we doing open science, especially one of the things that I think one of these words, the transparency word, also appeared in the word cloud, which I was really happy about. Doing open science enables this greater transparency in the scientific process, and it facilitates the reproducibility of results, which is a key thing to know if the results found can be reproduced or not. And also, these approaches of making open science makes scientific knowledge more accessible to everyone, not just the scientific public, but also the general public. And it helps combat misinformation that can appear if this is not accessible and hidden, maybe for just some experts. And like we discussed before, this idea of enabling collaboration and being more inclusive, and how communities, when working together on a problem, can actually find some results and solve some problems even faster than what could be done if they will do it alone, and validate them to make science even more robust. And even though these ideas may have been there from the beginning, the fact that now we have digital resources like the internet makes us understand why now it's such a big thing and it's such an important thing to do for us. This internet and this accessibility gate that has been opened with it helps us eliminate some of the barriers for digital collaboration on a global scale, like this call with people from all over the world. Of course, even though it has so many advantages and benefits, there are still many challenges that remain to be solved. Like, for example, having a good internet connection. That is something that today I'm not necessarily having the best. Or, of course, people with different disabilities may have different barriers trying to get to some information or participating in projects or reproducing stuff with softwares that maybe are paid and you don't have enough money to do so. And language barriers. As a non-native English speaker, I really feel interpolated by this. So if at any moment you don't understand what I say, please feel free to reach out and ask. And we talked a little bit about what is open science, what are the motivations and the goals, and actually who does it. Because when you think about science, or at least me, you always think about researchers and maybe someone in a lab with a coat doing something in the laboratory, some experiment. But it's not just researchers and it's not just scientists. Actually, there are many people and many roles involved that we will call them stakeholders that not only are involved but also affected by the outcomes of open science. And we are talking about technicians, science journalists, policymakers, mentors, and of course, citizens overall that can participate either by donating money or giving funding the research or participating in surveys, etc. And even though it seems like it's a simple thing, the interaction between science and society is actually not as simple. We have many different interactions in between, although I want to highlight that these type of interactions are an advantageous thing if we do it right. So each of the different roles here will have a main way of participating. It's true that researchers are the ones that actually do the science, but they have to share the results with policymakers and the public. So there we have an interaction which can help improve their lives. Also, it's policymakers the ones who implement the measures, but these measures can only be done when informed by the scientific community, and they will help improve society. And like mentioned before, the public has a really key role in helping funding research, which will not necessarily be possible if it's not, and other ways of participating, like in surveys or open calls. So everyone here has its role, and also they interact with each other. But if do so rightly and openly, it could definitely be an advantageous thing. So having that said, we actually arrived to our first exercise. And here we were gonna divide you into breakout rooms for you to discuss who are you in open science. And the idea is for you to introduce yourself and mention what type of open science stakeholder are you. Of course, feel free to ask if you don't remember the different concepts. But yeah, now we'll stop sharing. And people from OLS will give me a hand here, organizing the breakout rooms for all of you.
1 second, yeah.
Yeah, I got the.
Yeah, no worry. I don't know if anyone.
Yeah. Should we open them for like 6 minutes? Is that all right?
Yes, definitely. Okay. I give it a little bit more just in case, but.
All right. Okay, so I'll open the breakout rooms.
Awesome. Don't worry if you didn't. Sorry, do not worry if you didn't get the time, everyone, to chat. I know that sometimes when having a conversation, people take more time than usual, but do feel free, and please, if you can, whenever you can, get in the pad, in the shared document, and maybe you can write there what type of stakeholder, what is your participation in doing open science, which I didn't say it, but maybe it's something that you will learn here in this cohort. And it's not necessarily that you have to be a researcher or you have to be a journalist. It's maybe that you are a citizen who wants to do open science, and that is also a role to be done. So do not feel bad about not covering any of those ones. I totally forgot to say it. So do feel free to share in the shared document about it. And actually, yes, I don't know if anyone wants to participate and say out loud what you have been discussing in the breakout rooms. Maybe someone from any of the groups that wants to share a bit of what has been discussed there. I know it's a tough one.
Yeah. May I?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for the opportunity. So I'm Dr. Ziaul Hasan from India, and in our group we first introduce ourselves. We are 4 members in the group. So after introduction, we came to know each other, and there's a similarity in the group, in our group, that we all are. We had a position of a researcher come contributor in the open science. So this is the discussion that we had. And okay.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
So at least we have many researchers. Thank you, Ziaul. Hopefully I pronounced your name correctly. I know if anyone
it's
else,
perfectly fine.
maybe the written ones. Oh, great. Anyone else who wants to share? We have at least like 16 other people. There are people also writing.
I forget to
for example,
tell the name of my group members. So should I read their name?
If you want to in the shared
their
document, of course.
Yeah. So we have in our group Andre from Brazil, Kshitij from India, and Olushula from Nigeria, and me also from India.
All over the world.
Yeah, thank you.
I don't know about you. I find it amazing that this community gets people from all over the place. And it's a really nice opportunity also to get, I mean, we're all here because we want to do open science and be better together. So definitely take advantage of this opportunity. I recommend it. So I don't know if maybe we're okay to move forward. It's not that much that we have left to cover. And maybe it's a nice thing to leave more time for the end in case there are questions and things we want to discuss. So I don't know if anyone else has any questions. If not, want to share anything. If not, we can go forward. Okay, I will start sharing my screen again so we can move a little bit to part 2. And great. So we discussed a bit of what is open science and who does open science. And in this part, we are gonna talk a little bit about why is open science important. So I think maybe this doesn't need that much explanation. We have so many challenges ahead, some of them that we know, some of them that we don't know. These challenges change every day, every time, and some of them will need a different approach to how we solve them, how we achieve this success. And the idea is to do this through a responsive and inclusive scientific ecosystem. This idea of collaborating, of having diverse teams, of having different stakeholders involved, not just researchers or not just one type of research. So these diverse teams with more hands, eyes, and different brains have diverse experiences to share and diverse ways to participate. And also, this will definitely imply having different ways to solve things. So, what are these benefits that we can have from having such a collaborative and diverse backgrounds? Well, you can have benefits at 3 different scales. It could benefit you, science, and or society. So maybe how it can benefit you. One of the things that I found really useful is that, and to consider this, that you are your best future collaborator. This idea of writing well-documented products that can be reproduced in the future and having it in an open access platform allows you to not lose access of the things you did. I would definitely recommend having this in mind. The future you will thank you for it. Also, this idea that while sharing and while being open and collaborating, it gives you and gets you credit for the things that you do or how you participate or the ideas you bring. And this not only strengthens the scientific community, but also actualizes these shared values and this idea that, yes, we're definitely getting faster and to better results if we work together. And like Sarah shared, like it's not just the people who participate as experts or whatever, it's everyone involved in this community that are giving credit to building this community. So that is something that sometimes you don't know, but by participating, you're already being a huge part of change. And also this idea that when you share and you make your results open, you have more visibility and maybe an even greater impact. You can increase citations in the cases of researchers, collaborations. Maybe you get a platform to get some funding opportunities besides all of the recognized results and impacts of science and over society. For example, some information that can be used by you that maybe it was not meant for what it was meant. In this case, I bring this example of how using an open science source of information like satellite sea surface temperature benefited me as an example on a research project I was working on, in which I was trying to connect different growth models to environmental variability. And the fact that I could use this information made it a little bit more impactful on the results I could get and track these changes and what I was working on. And of course, yes, so many benefits at the science scale. This idea of having a more transparent, reproducible, and more accurate science that allows people to check the methods and to check whether the results are correct or help actually correct errors in case they have been found. And that is much more easily doable if we have open source items and documents. This idea of being open also improves scientific literature in general because it mitigates this publication bias and improves this trustworthiness on what is being shared. Of course, we have to fight a little bit, and here are some of the challenges of these open source researches that journals that you have to pay together to be able to see the articles. But well, the idea is that as more open we get, the best this trustworthiness will improve. And not to mention that maybe something that you have planned or was planned for one purpose can actually be used for another and lead to even more discoveries than what it was meant to be. So this idea that collective knowledge can actually accelerate scientific discoveries compared to if you do it by yourself. And we can talk about this example of an observatory that was meant to study just solar and heliospheric, I forgot the word in English. Well, but it was meant to study something related to the sun. And actually, planetary scientists found that this observatory could also be useful to spot comets. And even though the initial intention wasn't to do so, you never know. So by sharing, you get this possibility that maybe someone will find another useful thing to do with your data or with your processes. And of course, so many benefits for society. This increase in public trust and understanding, while the more open we do science towards society, the more people can understand what we do and maybe get a feedback about it and improve all the research processes. Also, the more open we do science, we can attract a more diverse set of participants, which maximize this diversity and these different points of view that will enrich the knowledge and the science that we do. Ooh, I think someone is, marking things. Maybe if you have a question, let me know. Yes, also making science more efficient and a little bit of what we discussed before, that this data have anticipated uses and trying to avoid also repetition. So if we share something we've done, maybe someone that was about to do the same can actually do another thing that rather complements instead of goes over what has already been done. And that is definitely something that we would like to avoid. And while sharing and being open, we can actually accelerate the pace of science. Thanks to including these new ideas of a broader community, we can get to results and solutions much faster than if we did it by ourselves. And a really, really good example was the recent rapid response to the COVID pandemic, in which academic publishers were committed to open access policies, and that accelerated the distribution of what we should or shouldn't do, and the vaccinations that worked or didn't work. So you never know how much impact your results can have. So it's also important to consider that and how society can be benefited. And with that said, I have collated a little bit more resources in case you want to know more. Of course, you have the full NASA TOPS curriculum, which was also shared, I think, via email. There is a handbook of another community of practice like OLS called the Turing Way, about how to make, reproducible, ethical, and collaborative data science, which I also recommend, and lots of things to explore online. But feel free to reach out in case you want to learn a little bit more or want to know more references about this. And without being said, I actually have this last little exercise for you planned. In this case, it's not in a breakout room, but rather writing in the pad that was shared in a shared document. And after hearing about this, the idea is for you to ask and to answer, how could your career, science, and our society benefit from integrating open science into your new or ongoing projects? A little bit related to what was your role and how do you think then some of these different levels can benefit. So I will stop sharing and I will write this down also in the pad for everyone to have. And if anyone has a question, I will write the exercise. Oh, perfect. It's already been done. And 54, you have space to fill in. I see people writing already also. And if someone cannot open the document, feel free to write it in the chat and we can read it if you like. I see people still writing, but I think, for example, Sarah finished. And she mentions that having, for example, open publications will help other researchers maybe know and reuse the work. And who knows what can that work be used for? For example, Ariel here works in a wet lab. Curious about if it is marine or non-marine wet lab. But yes, I like reading how to make work more efficient and prevent waste of time and resources, especially in this area where, for example, artificial intelligence is sometimes being used for whatever, and it's like we do not have an infinite resource of water or energy, so definitely something worth considering. Let's see. Some of the answers also discuss the feasibility and accessibility of results. Others mention how it can help policymakers. Oh, someone works with digital education and how it can be available for underrepresented communities. Nice to hear about that. Nice project. So basically, the idea behind this first lesson and the ethos of what is open science was to give an overview of the things that are relevant and the concepts that are important to consider moving forward in this cohort, to place you a little bit in what type of roles can you be doing and what other types of roles that you haven't even thought about you can participate with. And this idea that it's not just one definition, one role, one way of doing open science. There's so many things that do or that we can do in terms of open science, which you will also be learning along the way. But how important it is to have this idea of open science in the head whenever moving forward with any of the things. So I don't know if anyone wants to share it out loud. What do you think about this exercise, about who are you in open science, or if anyone has any questions regarding a little bit of the concepts discussed today? Maybe some of the expectations you have for the future training sessions as well. You can always feel free to write questions in the shared document or take this document to write notes. I used to find it really useful to see what other people wrote about. Maybe they thought some information was more relevant than what I thought it was relevant. And it was a nice exercise also to see the different perspectives of people and the different points of view of the take away things. And another suggestion from someone that has been a trainee is we have a little bit of time and maybe people are shy. I know about you, I was really shy about the beginning since English is not my thing. But to be honest, people do understand, and it's part of what we want to do to be more open and to collaborate. So I would definitely encourage people to do it even though you're scared and participate, and you will take the most out of this experience. Which, of course, sometimes if the internet is not working or you have family and kids behind, totally understandable as well. But yeah, it seems like at least from this side, the shared document is not moving anymore. But again, feel free to ask any questions, to reach out, and happy to be of help.
I am just going to also open the floor for any general Nebula related questions that you might have. If you want any further explanations or advice, this is the time. And feel free to write or just unmute yourselves. If not, you know where both Gracieli and me are, on Slack or on the email. And if no questions, then I'll hand over to Gladys to close the call. Thank you so much, Virginia. This was fantastic.
Pleasure.
Okay, so thank you everyone for attending this call. Thank you, Sarah, Virginia, Graciel, and everyone in the team. I think we've reached the end of this cohort call, and I would like to encourage you to continue writing more answers and also looking at the assignments, any assignment that could have been posted on the Framapad. And I'd like to encourage you also to be attending, especially all the sessions, including the skill up sessions that are scheduled for the next the cohort call, in somewhere in between the cohort call, and I think we have some skill up sessions. It's good that you attend. And also just a reminder, our next cohort call will be in 2 days. That is in Thursday, and we will be having the topic on the values of open science. That is part 2 of this call that we had today. And I want to also thank you so much again for your participation today. It was a pleasure hosting this call as a facilitator, and I look forward to interacting with all of you in Slack and also in the next incoming calls. And I think that's all for today. I want to thank everyone for joining, and you have a great day, and bye everyone. We meet next time.
Goodbye, everyone. Good luck.